The 6-year-old boy has become the fourth child to die after falling into an ice-covered lake in England. He had been in a critical condition in hospital since the incident at Babbismill Lake in Solihull on Sunday. 3 other boys aged 11, 10 and 8 also died in the tragedy. That's it for now. We'll have more in an hour.
News Talk weather.
Thanks to Ryanair. Seen one grotto, seen them all. Visit Christmas markets in Berlin, Prague or Vienna instead.
Mostly dry with clear spells this evening, with temperatures falling quickly with frost and ice developing. A few showers will affect parts of the north. Winds will be northeasterly in direction and moderate. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
All you need for Christmas.
News Talk's Christmas cash machine.
So Paul Ryan was at work in Tipperary when we called him today and he won the cash, but we're not stopping there. The Christmas cash machine has handed out over 40,000 and then twice over 50,000 prizes already this week. We have reloaded again and this time there's €60,000 up for grabs. So the new number you need for tomorrow is €60,340.15. So €60,340.15. Get your entry in by 3 o'clock. And if your phone rings, answer within 5 rings and give us the exact amount in euro and cents. Over 18s only, text costs €2.50 and you're playing across the Go Loud network of stations. Terms and conditions on newstalk.com.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, get more of the sports you love on Sports Extra with BT Sport and Premier Sports.
I'm prepared to do anything I can to play for my country again.
Do it then. What about your start to the game?
It wasn't bad, was it?
Why should an honest answer be a mistake?
How can a modern day manager not have a mobile phone?
Why should he?
You're welcome along, Football Show. We have our final. Argentina, France, 3 o'clock on Sunday. Messi against Mbappe, whatever way you want to sell it. It doesn't need much selling. We're going to talk to Tim Vickery later on. He'll join us from Brazil. They are licking their wounds and also in a mild state of terror at the prospect of Argentina winning the World Cup. So Tim is going to join us very shortly. Our first guest, though, has had a tricky week. Golf courses around the country succumbing to the weather. So really, he's had nothing to do except watch football. Damien, hello.
Hey Joe, how are you? Yeah, you're not lying there. You're not wrong. I think I was phoning you today and said, "Do you want me to come on your show?"
If you want to think about Damien's week, he's just been standing at the window, looking outside as his children have tried to get his attention,
chipping in the back garden.
Yeah,
that's about it.
So Morocco's World Cup has come to an end. France are in the final, 2-0 win. Give us your general assessment of the game. Deserved winners?
I think so. Yeah, France are an incredibly complete side. They have pretty much every department covered. They give up a lot of possession. They hand the initiative to the opposition, like we saw in the England game, and they're quite comfortable just to drop off 5 yards, narrow up a little bit, and soak up a bit of pressure. They do give up a few chances, which would be the slight worry. But you know, they're more than adequate defenders. They've got a top goalkeeper, so they're a fairly well-rounded side, I suppose, in my opinion, on France.
Yeah, perfect start as well. Theo Hernandez with the opening goal. That's just not in the Moroccan game plan. But they responded reasonably well for a side who aren't used to going down in a game, and in particular a side, you know, whose plan is really based on keeping things tight and you know, letting the game develop on level terms and picking a team off. So they didn't go to pieces by any means.
No, they didn't. Even in the first 4 minutes, I thought to myself, Morocco looked really comfortable. They were stroking the ball around in their own half, and France almost lull you into a false sense of security because, you know, you expect, you know, with the amount of Premier League and Champions League football, high press, counter pressing, those are the words that are always flying around. France are quite content just to narrow up and drop off and let the opposition have it. And then France just have that ruthless killer instinct, top players that can wait for their moment and then take it, ruthless in their efficiency. And then, of course, Morocco are kind of put in a position where they're not used to it, like you said, but France almost give that to, you know, I know a lot of people said England did really, really well against France and perhaps deserved something and they were the better team. Yeah. And they were, but I don't think that was a virtue of England taking the initiative. France just gave it to them. You know, England were behind twice in that game. And they were behind for an awful lot of that game, and France gave England the initiative. And when you think about it, what did England really create, apart from the Harry Kane chance in the first half, where I think it was up Mancano got rolled and Lloris made the save at Harry Kane's feet. Other than that, I think France controlled an awful lot of what was happening with England. And of course, England needed 2 penalties. And pretty much the same tonight with Morocco. Morocco will be really, really proud of their performance. And they will argue they created more chances than what England did and probably deserved at the very least a goal. But as I said, France seem to be okay with that.
Yeah. What's your sense of why France play like that? There's the obvious point that Giroud mightn't be high pressing fanatic, but I've seen France described as almost a cluster bomb, that out of possession they almost retreat, as you said, into this compact shape, and then when a turnover happens, it's like mini explosion, and you have Dembele up one side and Mbappe, and the whole thing just springs to life. And I guess bringing a team onto them is it's a very dangerous position for any team coming onto France. So maybe that's the logic. Yeah,
but if I think Didier Deschamps looks at what he has world-class players who are capable of moments of really exploding into life. So why go chase a game? Why do we feel we have to dominate it and leave ourselves exposed to being counter-attacked or leave ourselves short at the back? So he just errs on the side of caution and just thinks, you know what, I trust the Mbappes. Griezmann's having an incredible World Cup. I haven't read a lot of media, but I think for me, he's been one of the best players. He's just been brilliant with that new role, playing as kind of a deep line midfield player. You know, they have the pace on the wings then of Dembele and Mbappe, and then Giroud up top leading the line. You know, that balance just works really, really well. It just fits together, it knits together nicely. But Deschamps realises that, you know, you can have a bad half and be out of a World Cup, and he just won't take that risk. You know, it's not like a Premier League where you can, you know, have a bad half, lose a game 1-0, and you have another game next week. So I think that he just plots his way through it, and I suppose just works on the kind of the percentages, I suppose.
So he's not risking the press being beaten and being short at the back and conceding.
Exactly, or even dominating and getting counter-attacked, or even, you know, even something so small as like a conceding from a corner or a penalty. He just wants to limit that percentage of times that the opposition have chances to score when France aren't quite set.
I mean, this is a minor tangent and we don't have to go too far down it. Everything you're describing there is the opposite of what Ireland and Stephen Kenny are doing of late. I'm not trying to get you in trouble.
No. Listen, I agree 100%. You know, I mean, but you got to look at what you have. We don't have the explosive players that could create moments. You know, so we kind of have to force the issue, and I guess that's what Stephen is trying to do. But we're almost at the other end of the extreme, where we just seem to, and I suppose the 5-minute moment of madness against Armenia. That we had just epitomises that we just committed too many bodies forward, and we even left a really, really poor Armenia team an opportunity to get back in the game. That's the extreme of what Deschamps is trying to avoid. But he can afford to sit in and be compact because he has the players that can turn a game on a dime in Griezmann, Mbappe, Dembele, Giroud's goal scoring record. So that's probably as far as we should go on that, Joe.
I agree. I already regret bringing it up. To Deschamps' credit, to lose Kante, lose Pogba, and to quickly deduce that Griezmann in that role is the way to balance out this side perfectly, with no prep time really to do it. It just had to be unfurled, ready to go at this World Cup. Yeah. That's pretty impressive.
Super. I mean, that's what an elite manager does. That's why these managers are the elite, the super elite, get paid what they get paid. They can quickly adapt, improvise to whatever comes their way, not just kind of in-game with substitutions and tactical tweaks, but with, you know, situations they're forced going into a tournament. How is the best way for us to get to the final? What's the best way for me to set this team up? You know, if we lose the legs of Kante or the defensive kind of shield that he gives us, the dynamism that we get from him, or the guile of Pogba, and in fairness to Pogba for France, he has been full of that. He just needs to devise another way, and him and his coaches haven't done that, but that's just the mark of an elite manager.
Are you surprised how good Griezmann has been in that role?
Not really. I mean, I suppose we saw it. It must have been 5 or 6 years ago now for Atletico Madrid. That was kind of his role, you know. He could just drop into the pocket if he wanted and create. And then he went to Barcelona. That obviously all went wrong, and obviously France then play him in a different role. But I think he's suited to it brilliantly. But then you have to factor in the other two central midfield players in Tchouameni, and it was Fofana tonight, Rabiot as well. So defensively, they're really, really well set, France, so that they're able to give Griezmann this kind of free role, this kind of free spirit, going and whatever you feel, just go and do it, and we trust that you're going to create enough chances for us or create enough openings for us. So like I said, it just knits together. You look at it and visually it's a beautifully balanced side, and it knits together really, really well.
And yet we don't want to pitch this as France are impervious, because Morocco got through them several times tonight. So why is that happening, I wonder?
Well, I suppose, when you drop off and you invite pressure, it can get very, very difficult. And then I suppose you have Mbappe, who doesn't come back. So it's not an ultra defensive shape. Ordinarily, when teams do that, the wide players will drop back in and make it like a 4-5-1. But you look at the game tonight, the amount of times Hakimi joined in and caused carnage down that right-hand side for Morocco. Dembele is not the greatest at dropping back in either. So Griezmann probably just drops back in and fills holes as best he possibly can. But there are gaps, they don't go ultra defensive and ask their wide players to come back in and really make it hard. They just drop off, narrow in, but not massively. So there are gaps, you can get at it. But I think they backed their centre-backs. I thought they were brilliant tonight, what they had to cope with. England kind of pressed, but didn't really create as much as what Morocco did today, which I think when you look at the game tonight, England will be disappointed, even more so in themselves, that they didn't make more of the initiative that they had. So I think France can be got at, and especially with Messi and his ability, he will create chances. And I think it makes for a good final. I think it'll be a nice open game.
Yeah, hopefully. Remind me, did you ever come across Giroud on your travels?
Oh yeah, absolutely, loads of times. I used to always say that he was one of the toughest ones to play against, and he was so strong, physically imposing, and a traditional number 9, and he wasn't afraid to put himself about, but he always seemed to just stand in between the two centre backs. So he'd just be maybe 10 yards on my left and then 10 yards on the left, on the right side centre back on his side. So he just picked up nice positions, and he was a good focal point for Arsenal, with all their passing. It was when Ozil was there and they used to retain possession. But then they had him up the top of the pitch. And listen, he wasn't slow, obviously he wasn't quick, but he put himself about. He used to run in behind as well and offer a threat. But crosses are where you'd be terrified with him, because he would just drift off your shoulder, and he was so good in the air as well. So listen, I thought he was great, and I think the moment everyone started taking notice of him was that Van Dijk interview before the World Cup, where they asked Van Dijk who was his toughest opponent, and he said Van Dijk, and I think there was the collective world jaws dropped when he said that, and everyone went, really? And I think then everyone started taking notice of Giroud, or maybe giving him the respect.
I gotta be honest, it came as a surprise to me, and I suspect other people, that Giroud overtook Henry and became France's all-time top scorer as well. I mean, that was the one where I thought, God, I've missed about 50 of this lad's international goals. I completely underestimated him on the international stage. The quintessential Giroud goal is obviously when he gets across centre half and heads one in at the near post. So why is he so difficult in that aspect to stop? He disappears from your sight line, and he's so big as well, so he gets across you.
And he's big, and once he gets, so he if the cross is coming in, he can get across the line of him. Once he gets there, you can't get round him without fouling him, so he's very, very good at picking up the flight of the ball, so he'll make his move, and as a defender you kind of have to pause a little bit, for the cross, you have to wait, then as soon as the cross is on the way, then you can adjust. But he can gamble, he goes early sometimes, and if he goes early and the cross comes in, short or long, he kind of gets to the point where the ball drops before you, and once he gets there, then you can't move him. Harry Maguire, for his second goal against England, is case in point. He just gambled in between the two centre-backs. Harry Maguire got there a step late, which people could say that's his fault. I don't think it is. Harry Maguire can't gamble that the ball is going to go there, because then if the ball goes out the back, Harry Maguire's out of position. So as a centre-back, you always have to wait till the cross is en route before you can move. Otherwise, you're gambling. Centre-forwards can gamble. That's why they always seem to steal a yard or two here or there. But he just gets there, and then Harry Maguire can't get round him, and that's why the header kind of comes off Harry and goes into the corner. So he's just a big man, and he's his hair is great too, and
I know, irritatingly good looking. I mean, it's everything.
Yeah.
So that is, it's quite interesting the way the dice are loaded against defenders with like a good cross, particularly in near post. Striker has the right to gamble. You can't gamble in case suddenly it goes over your head and everyone says, why did you gamble? And if he's big and he's strong and he gets the flight early, That's why on so many match of the days, Alan Shearer unfairly circles the defender and says, look, he didn't go with the runner, he got nipped at the near post, but it's not as easy as it looks.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, sometimes people are, there's a lot of catchphrases you can throw out, like, ball watching, or he was asleep at the back post. You look deeper at it, and you're kind of like, sometimes the worst one is when, the fullback gets battered for like the ball that goes out the back, and the right or left winger finishes it, like, and you're going, oh, yeah, the fullback switched off, but you're kind of going, but he had to come in. There was a runner, a late midfield runner, and you always have to take the biggest danger. So when you break it down a little bit more, those kind of catchphrases are a little bit harsh, I think.
You watched Argentina last night, I presume?
Yeah, I did, yeah. I watched it, yeah.
That was their best performance of the tournament.
Yeah, very good side. Again, well.
Did you think they were a good side before last night?
Yes, because of the 36-game unbeaten run, and I must admit I hadn't seen a whole pile of them, so they're obviously a very, very good team.
Yeah.
But it's only as the tournament unfolded you started getting a feel for how they are and why they went 36 games undefeated. Obviously, the Saudi Arabia game was just like a shock to the whole world. But I suppose unless you follow South American football, which I'm not sure any of us really do, the Copa America and stuff, you only just start watching them in the group stage, and then you start seeing, how they are built. I won't say around Messi or for Messi, but again, similar to France, quite conservative, a lot of hard-running midfield players. You look at Rodrigo de Paul, the guy from Atletico, again, hard-working players would put the mileage in, aren't afraid to tackle, tough defenders. And then obviously, similar to France and Griezmann and Mbappe, just Messi's moments of magic or just turning games. And then they rely on that so much. Messi's nearly involved in everything good that they do, and they realise that Messi can't run or put in the hard yards like they used to, so they've kind of built a kind of a safety net around him. But they don't mind. Rodrigo de Paul minds doing extra running because Messi does what he does last night. So listen, they're a really well organised, well drilled side. Not flamboyant or not eye catching. There's nothing pretty about them. Patterns. There's nothing. Actually, pretty is a bit harsh there, but there's nothing eye-catching about them. No. They're a very, very good side with a world-class player, or the greatest of all time, really, I suppose.
Yeah. So Alvarez scores one of the great, bundling his way through goals of all time. And to be fair to him, he's simultaneously not in control of the situation, but also very in control of the situation and reacting to bounces off other players and has a certain sense of momentum. And then he finishes very well when the chance comes.
That's a very nice description of that there, Joe. Listen, I don't think he was in control at all. The ball just kept bouncing in front of him.
Sorry to interrupt, and you would know this. I think Suarez can do that kind of thing as well, where it's knocking off shins and coming back at him. And, it takes a certain something.
It does. But you have to have that power, that forward running, and you do run into people and it hits knees, chests, hips, everything. But it kept falling for him, and then he got there, and it was a very good finish, But it was up sitting again at a really nice height for him. Yeah. Sometimes those deflections could be up in the air, and you're trying to head it, or it's bobbling, or you can't quite get over. But it just sat up perfectly for him. That, and obviously the penalty, which I think was such a harsh penalty.
I agree totally with you.
Yeah, I haven't read any media today, so I could be way out here.
You're in the minority. You're in the minority.
Yeah, I could imagine, but I don't think it is a penalty. The shot's gone. The goalkeeper's entitled to, read where he thinks the shot's going to go. He's read that it's going to go right. Then he can't disappear. On top of that, there's two lads back on the line. I think that goes down as a footballing incident for me. If the ball was flicked over the goalkeeper and he's trying to get it on the other side to finish it, and the keeper's in the way, then that's obstruction. But he's had the shot. It's not going in. Goalkeepers can't just get out of the way. It's very, very harsh. Yeah. I thought it was a tough penalty, but once the referee gives it, I think VAR aren't going to overturn it. It's one of those. It's that one where if it wasn't given, I'm not sure VAR go back and review it and go, "Oh, that's a clear and obvious mistake." They just went with the referee's on-field decision.
Yeah. I get it. No, I think everyone gets it. It was a very difficult decision, actually, and I don't think it's a scandal either way. But my sense was your sense in that the keeper is entitled to come forward to a certain point, and then at a certain point, Alvarez just runs into him.
Yeah. Like you said, if the goalkeeper's moving forward and the goalkeeper initiates the contact, you'd say more, but the goalkeeper has to perform his duty or do his job, and he did his best to stand up, make himself big. He made a movement to his right, and Alvarez, like I said, it's not like Alvarez was going to get it on the other side of the goalkeeper. The shot had come off. Footballing incident for me. move on. So that was harsh and a good break for Argentina. Then several good breaks for Alvarez. But then the moment of, well, I suppose one of the moments of the World Cup, really, the little shimmy from Messi.
Break that down for us. So he's against Josko Gvardiol, one of the best defenders at this tournament. He has to beat him a few times, is Messi's predicament at the moment. So he beats him at halfway and scurries down the line, but 20-year-old Gvardiol can stay with him. 10 years ago Messi's away, but not anymore.
But it's the shimmy afterwards. So when the defender gets back around and Messi is facing the touchline, it's the shimmy to go right on his left foot, and Messi's left-footed as well. So every defender, it's easy to say that he bit on the shimmy, and the defender did bite, absolutely. But then it's just the fluid motion, I suppose, of the shimmy, and then the outside of the left foot to roll him, and then immediately get across the line of the defender so the defender can't get back. It was just the thing. The fluidity of it, the beauty of it, the grace of it, I suppose, was something else. And then he put it on a plate. So
I presume in most instances, a lot of players in the world could beat Gvardiol on the halfway line and scurry into the box, and he manages to get back with them and get goal side and stand them up in the box. It's at that moment, I think, the vast majority of players decide to come back out and recycle possession. They don't think they're somehow going to spin him in the box. That's where the Messi factor takes over. It's at that kind of moment. So is Gvardiol very conscious of Messi comes back inside onto his left foot and shoots on his left foot, we're in trouble? Is that why he really bites on that dummy?
Absolutely. Or, listen, every defender's nature is you want to be aggressive. You want to try to win the ball back. You don't want to be too passive, especially with Messi around the edge of the box. Even if he takes a touch back and he rolls it back to a midfield player, you still want to try and be in a position where you can stick a toe in and maybe nick it off him, But I suppose as soon as the defender didn't even try and win it. He just took a step. But Messi has that low centre of gravity, that beauty of just overselling it. Sometimes as a defender, you see him making the move and you think, a dummy is coming, but he just doubles back beautifully. And as I said, then the next touch takes him across the line of the defender and he's got no chance. It was a really well sold dummy. I don't blame the defender. It's very, very difficult around the edge of your own box. Most defenders want to be aggressive, as I said, but we'll give Messi all the credit there.
Yeah. And he's such an icon, I feel like Gvardiol will be proudly watching that with his grandkids in 40 years going, look, watch where he does me here.
There's every chance.
Made a fool of me. Do you see that? That was Messi.
Oh man! Actually, I tell you a funny story. When we played Arsenal one time, something very similar to that now, and Theo Walcott was playing for Arsenal, right? And same thing. He's facing the touchline, and he went back towards his own goal, thinking that I'd buy, and then he doubled back. But the thing is, I couldn't even buy the dummy. So when he went back towards his own goal and he doubled back, I was stood there waiting for him, and he looked at me going, geez, how did he read that? And I did. I just couldn't move. I just couldn't move quick enough to buy the dummy.
Oh, dear. So what you're saying there is if you had been against Messi last night, you would have been unable to move for the first dummy and would have face planted him and taken the ball away.
100, but then obviously the flip side of that is if he does go back inside and bends inside with his left foot,
yes,
questions are asked of me there. I'm just saying that Gvardiol was just too eager, too eager, I suppose, to try and win it. But, just the way it is.
And do you think, is there any degree, because I understand when you're all out there, there's a degree of we're all of a level and players become sort of anonymous. But I would even think every time Messi gets the ball, you're super conscious it's Messi. He just has this aura around him, even 60 minutes into a game like that. You might just be more inclined to bite down or do rash things around him.
Yeah, we see, if you're playing against someone like that, you probably go into the game and you think, I want to be aggressive, I want to, stop at its source, get tight to him, don't let him turn. If I can get contact early before the ball arrives or as the ball's arriving, I might be able to have some semblance of control. But I suppose the first time then that he just takes it in and rolls, you go, oh my God. And then the next time you're going, give yourself a yard, don't let that happen again. But then he turns and he's facing you up. So it's just the guy has that low, I suppose the closest I ever would have seen to somebody or to playing against somebody that was Eden Hazard. Remember prime Chelsea, he had that too. He could just take the ball in and he'd kind of stick his backside into it and he'd roll you. Obviously Messi's another level up again on that. But it's just very, very difficult when they're as strong as what they are and they can react very, very quickly to what the defender shows them. And Messi has that ability.
So, who's going to win the final and why?
Oh wow! I look. It's impossibly hard to call. It would be like an educated or semi-educated guess. Like I would go with France. They have more weapons. That's the only reason. But I wouldn't discount the fact that Messi just takes over this game. And I think Messi's been waiting for this for years. We saw how I suppose lost he looked for a number of years there. The back end of Barca's early days at PSG. We're all kind of wondering, has he still got it? I think this has been the only thing that's kept him going. This World Cup, it's his last. He just probably put everything into it. Post World Cup, it'd be interesting to see what happens with him, because I think his heart and soul is in this, and I think it's just it has the potential to fall off the edge of a cliff after this.
Yes, he's running on adrenaline and inspiration.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even after the Dutch game, where he gets into like a little fracas with Weghorst in the tunnel and tells him to keep moving, and even I thought last night where he's almost emoting more. This is a guy who basically didn't blink for 15 years. We never could reach him as a human being, and last night he's at full time. I don't know, maybe you're the kind of guy who turns off a TV straight away when the match is over, but he was like there with the Argentinian fans, almost tears in his eyes, satisfied smile, taking it in. It all just feels like air of destiny about him, and as you said, like the last you can't say 5 years given 4 years ago, but the last number of years have all been geared to this moment. He looks kind of inspired, really.
Yeah, I think so. I think this is this for him. He sees it as the crowning moment in his career, and what a crowning moment it would be as well. I would love to see him do it. I just really would. It would be a fitting end for him, and then he could go off into the sunset, as the undisputed greatest of all time. The debate would be over then if he wins this, especially with the 4 man of the matches and how many goals and assists he's had. He really has had a huge impact at this World Cup. And I just, I think, as I said, France, because they have more weapons, defensively they look really, really solid. But again, you can't discount the Messi factor.
You mentioned England there. They never created anything gilt-edged against France. So is that down to, and here are the various rationales or pieces of, or excuses or reasons for why they went out, just sheer bad luck and one of those things? Southgate's tactics, not going for it enough, or France just better players?
So. I think so. I think France have, I suppose, like England have the players, but obviously their kind of, I suppose, conservative nature, I suppose, has kind of hindered them. France handed them the initiative in that game, and they just couldn't take it. They had enough possession, but they didn't create enough chances. They didn't really open up the French team at any real point. And at some point in a tournament, you're going to have to beat someone who's ranked ahead of you. I saw a graphic today about, top 10 teams that Southgate has won against since the World Cup in 2018. I think it's something like only 3 or 4 out of 13 or 14. That percentage is incredibly low considering how often he plays, in the Nations League. He plays those teams. So, just not good enough. I think another manager could get more out of that squad.
Yeah, that is the argument that's been used against him in the last 48 hours in the UK media by those who are against him, which is, who has he beaten that was of a level they're at or even slightly above? Who they beaten that they shouldn't have beaten? And the answer is pretty much zero. So is it just a more attacking lineup? Like Kenny Cunningham was in on Monday. He said Foden should be in there instead of Henderson and get someone else decent on the wing, and that more attacking slant, and to be more in them.
Yeah, they have more attacking players. And I suppose when you have as much of the ball as what they did against France, you're expecting them to do more with it. And it just didn't happen. I think another manager, I suppose a question or a hypothetical I could put to you is like, if England and France swap managers on the eve of the World Cup, I think their tournaments play out as they played out. But I think Deschamps probably gets that England team over the line in the semi-final or the quarterfinal, against France. And I just think the manager to give him that extra X factor, that bit of belief,
Interesting. We are pretty much out of time. So thank you very much. I hope for your sake the golf course is open and you can resume normal life very, very soon. I know how difficult this has been for you. Pray for Damien.
Yeah, it is. I'm telling you now, man. I'm an addict, and I haven't had anything for. I've been kind of drying out for the last 6 or 7 days. But
just go get your putter. Go get your putter and a glass at the end of the room and practice your putting, and just try and hang in there, okay?
Cheers, John. Thanks, man.
Thank you so much. That was super. Really great. Thanks so much. Damien Delaney with us there on the line, giving us his thoughts on tonight in the World Cup at large. The football show is brought to you by Sky. All the football you love in one place across Sky Sports, BT Sport and Premier Sports. We'll take a very short ad break. Mr. Tim Vickery from Brazil on the way.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, proud partner and supporter of the Republic of Ireland women's national football team.
This is News Talk.
You have a man being slaughtered downstairs and a man lying in bed upstairs not hearing it.
News Talk's Inside the Crime is back with Season 2, the Charles Self murder.
Presumably there would have been screaming.
It's been 40 years since he was killed in his Dublin home.
He was nervous about bringing somebody into the house.
His murder is still unsolved.
It's never too late to come forward.
Subscribe to Inside the Crime on the Go Loud app or wherever you get your podcasts. All 5 episodes are available now.
Guaranteed Irish business members continue to sustain jobs and communities across Ireland.
Me Too You is the Irish-owned multi-store gift card, accepted in over 7,000 retailers nationwide and exclusively in Smith's Toys, Applegreen and McGurk's Golf. It's also the gift card of choice for many of Ireland's best-known employers, who can now gift up to €1,000 tax-free to employees. So remember metooyou.ie when rewarding staff this year. Guaranteed Irish. Altogether better.
The Red Army are on the move.
Speed of transfer, the changes of the angles.
The Heineken Champions Cup is back.
Has he got the momentum? He has!
Stream Northampton versus Munster live and exclusive with a Now Sports Extra membership.
A completely different type of opposition.
Can Munster slay the Saints and open up an early Christmas gift? Catch all the action live this Sunday with a Now Sports Extra membership from $11.99. Sign up at nowtv.com. 18 plus. Membership required. Content streamed via internet.
Christmas deals now on at Curry's. Save €110 on the Dyson V10 Extra cordless vacuum cleaner, now $389. And save €100 on the HP Chromebook 14A laptop with built-in security, now $149. Get in store or online at currys.ie.
Give the gift of getting together this Christmas with the Press Up gift card. One card, unlimited experiences. Date night at Stella Cinema, luxury hotel breaks at the Dean or Glasson Lake House. World famous wings at Elephant and Castle. Whether they're a movie buff, luxury hotel lover, or impossible to please foodie, the Press Up gift card opens the door to endless experiences and special memories. Buy online for instant delivery at pressup.ie.
At the Guinness Storehouse, we bring the best ingredients together. This Christmas, we welcome you behind the snow-capped Guinness gates. Tickets include live entertainment, an immersive Guinness installation, and Christmas tree created by award-winning Irish artist Griff. With incredible views from the Gravity Bar, celebrate Christmas with the most important ingredients of all, your friends and your family. Book your tickets online today. Terms and conditions apply. Get the facts, be drink aware, visit drinkaware.ie.
Hi, Teresa Mannion here with a road safety alert for bad weather. Black ice is one of winter's biggest hazards and is hard to see. Watch out for sheltered or shaded areas on the road, under trees and near high walls. Visit rsa.ie from the Road Safety Authority.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, get more of the sports you love on Sports Extra with BT Sport and Premier Sports.
This is News Talk.
Welcome back. Tweeting complimenting Damien Delaney on his punditry. Yeah, I agree. He is top. And Joe in Kildare, not me, obviously, has texted in to say, "Hi Joe, what about Ronaldo's behaviour at the end of the quarter-final? Straight off the pitch, no class, no sense of dignity. Didn't even congratulate the other players or teams on winning. When you talk about great, there's also how you conduct yourself. Ronaldo let himself down, proves he's not a great." Well, I suppose, Joe, in fairness, his greatness was never predicated on his personality. That much we can say. And he is a self-absorbed genius. And for him, that moment was only about one thing. It was about the end of his legendary career ending in failure from a World Cup point of view. And in his eye, that is a tragedy. And it surpasses anyone else and certainly any opposition. So it is who he is, and it's perhaps one of the reasons he's been a great, although I would think that's an arguable point. But yeah, it's a terrible look, really. He's a legendary figure, and he probably hasn't embraced that elder statesman role very well, even from the point of view of being a super sub or being collegiate to his teammates, I would think. So that's it was no surprise, I think. I mean, could you have seen him behave in any other way? I couldn't really, to be honest. Tim Vickery's here. Hello.
Hello, very good evening to you.
Would you have expected much else from Ronaldo? Was I just to throw? I don't know if you heard that text.
I did, yeah. I think you hit the nail on the proverbial. There's obviously the danger here that we're conflating greatness with a moralist approach. But I think your point was perfect. That's how he became the great player that he became. Is that single-minded focus. And the tragedy of the end of his career is that for so much of his career, his ego has been good for the teams that he's been playing in, because getting the best out of him worked for everyone. And now that's no longer the case. His ego has now become an impediment to the working of the successful working of the teams that he plays for.
Tim, World Cups mean expedited news cycles, so this is the first time I've spoken to you since Brazil were dumped out. It's amazing, really. We talked to you for years in advance, routinely checking in on Brazil, and now it feels like ancient history since they were dumped out. So they were, to be fair to them, unfortunate with injury, and Croatia had their shot. They were single shot pretty much in the game and happened to go in.
Well, it was, yeah.
Yeah, so...
And deflected.
And deflected. So... What are we to say then of Brazil? Is it outright failure, or can we be more nuanced?
Well, to lose again to a European side in the quarterfinals, and they're getting smaller. You know, last time it was Belgium, 11.5 million of them. Now it's Croatia, 4 million, breaking the hearts of more than 210 million Brazilians. Very, very frustrating. Yes, clearly unfortunate. Unfortunate with the injuries as well, because we've seen, this was clear, I think, after 5 minutes, and we've found out subsequently, Richarlison was in no position to be in the field, you know, and that's so important because that's the press. That got them 2 goals against South Korea, and without the press, it's easy for Croatia to get the ball to their midfield and then just take the heat out of the game. And just run the clock down and dictate things their rhythm. Now, if they'd had Gabriel Jesus, whip him on. Yeah. Perfect, but he's gone. So what do? Against an opponent who's difficult to break down, you need your players from the back. Your fullbacks, perhaps. Alexandro crashing into the attacking line as an element of surprise. That's been one of the things they've worked on. But he's not there. He's not fit. He came on for the last 15 minutes of extra time. They've had to improvise with both fullbacks. They ended up sending, after half-time, sending Eder Militão forward as much as possible, and he didn't do badly. It was heroic. But it's strange how fine the margins are. It's been one of the lessons of this World Cup, because one uncharacteristic moment, you could never imagine this team conceding that goal. You could never imagine it. It's a team that's been so defensively solid, but you see what pressure and tiredness can do, because usually the team will move up as a block. And there you get a situation when half the team moves up as a block and the other half stays back, and Croatia can get that counter-attack starting there in the middle, in that hole. Casemiro makes a wrong option, an unnecessary option. He dives in the wrong side trying to win the ball. Had he just stayed goal side, Modric can't turn him. So just one moment. Also, though, we can step back a little bit and say, let's take the South Korea game away. You don't win the World Cup in exhibition games. You win it in the tough games. And although they looked, that one moment aside, solid, against the European teams, in fact, every game apart from South Korea, they didn't score in the first half.
Yeah.
I don't think things clicked as well as they should have clicked. One thing you see in the World Cup, you see this very clearly in Argentina, you can come to the World Cup with an idea. And as the military folk will tell you, any plan dies the moment on first contact with the enemy. And Brazil, I think, have been playing whack-a-mole a little bit, in that through last year, it looked like the best part of the team was the partnership through the middle of Neymar and Lucas Paquetá.
Yeah.
Then the wingers explode. And initially, the team wasn't for Vinicius. It was Rafinha. And then Vinicius explodes as well. And in the World Cup, he produced the first 3 games he played his best 3 for Brazil. You got a centre forward as well. Richarlison had kind of selected himself. He'd scored 7 in 6 coming into the World Cup. And so you had a team with 2 wingers and a centre forward who doesn't contribute to the elaboration. He scores and he presses, but he can't drop and combine. That's not his game. And they ended up losing that combination through the middle. Paquetá and Neymar were too far apart. And in that great goal that they scored, which was both a great individual goal and a great collective goal,
yes,
they brought on Rodrigo because they wanted a winger who could give them more through the centre. And finally, you had something of Neymar and Paquetá together, and it got them a goal, a fantastic goal. But they didn't have enough of that during the tournament. But had that game finished 5 minutes earlier, we'd be talking about Neymar rising to the occasion and Brazil finding the formula.
Well,
it's
indeed.
So very, very cruel.
And that's where I wanted to go next, actually, because I don't know, will he be around in 4 years? He'll certainly be a more fringe figure. And we had talked about this World Cup as the decisive one for Neymar, who, to be fair, has been unlucky with injury at World Cups and the timing of World Cups. And anytime we've discussed him, I've made it very clear I don't rate his professionalism. But I did, as he scored that, and I agree, sensational goal, I did think to myself, wow, if he has another moment or two like this and powers Brazil to a World Cup, even I will have to reassess Neymar's career. And so where does this leave him now?
Well, I think you'll probably get another chance. And he did say going into the World Cup, this would probably be his last. He's not sure if he wants to play for Brazil again. He's saying he's psychologically destroyed. But the next one's only 3.5 years away. And I'd be very, very surprised if he doesn't have one last chance.
What age is he now?
So he's coming up 31. So he'll be 34 for the next one. One of the problems is, and this is reflected in the injuries that he picks up, he's fouled a lot. Although on the players these days, they get protection that the likes of Diego Maradona can only dream about. But he is fouled a lot. But some of that is an option. Some of that is him calling the foul.
Yeah,
he's not a street footballer. He's part of the tragedy of modern Brazil in a way, in that the street footballer has been replaced because so many of the urban streets have become unsafe. So you get them inside with futsal. There's always a referee.
Yes,
and his protection. The street footballer learns when to do the dribble and when to get rid of the ball, because you're going to get a kick in, especially if you're a frail little kid. And you can humiliate people. Neymar, his defence has always been the referee, has always been to be fouled and say to the referee, I'm being fouled. Now, I think he's going to have to adjust. He's going to have to have a rethink on this if he's going to prolong his career. Because if not, he's going to pick up more and more injuries as he just loses that vital half yard.
Yes.
Can he do that rethink? Well, we don't know. We shall see. But I should be fascinated to see the next chapters.
That's so interesting. As you were talking there, I just found myself thinking of Jack Wilshere, whose ankles were hacked really to the extent that his career was curtailed. And he was so adroit at presenting the ball and at the last minute getting his foot there and getting the ball away. And of course, his foot is still there when tackle comes in.
I remember by coincidence, this is September 2010, for one of his early games when he was first coming onto the scene. It was a Champions League game, Arsenal against Braga, and I just couldn't believe him. It was Fabregas and Wilshere, the sorcerer and his apprentice. Now, I have no Arsenal sympathies. My sympathies are at the other end of the Seven Sisters Road, but I was blown away by him, and I had such high hopes. And tragically, as you said, I think those glass ankles meant that we never got to see the best of him.
So is Chiche being dismantled by all around, or is there an understanding that there was a degree of bad luck?
Well, in the history of Brazilian football, usually when they win, the players get the credit, and when they lose, the coach gets the criticism.
Right.
So yes, he is. I think which is unfair. And he did have 2 goes at the World Cup and got knocked out in the quarterfinals both times. But I think the work has been done with competence and dignity and probably deserved better luck. I do wish they'd have had more central midfield play. I think that the 2 wingers plus a non-Harry Kane style centre forward, I came to the decision, and you have to wait to the World Cup to see the evidence, that it wasn't the best, that more play through the middle would have helped it would have helped the wingers. Would have helped just play one of them. Bring a winger into the game on more advantageous terms. So I think they got carried away a little bit with the idea of the two wingers and Richarlison as a centre forward, and they didn't get to face one of the real heavyweights. And I'm fascinated to see how that would have gone. I'm sad that we didn't get to see that.
And then, just to rub salt into the wound, they had to watch Argentina tear this Croatian team apart.
Oh yes. It's really strange, actually, the atmosphere in Brazil. I mean, they can be very, very cruel to their own team. And there's more support for Argentina than I think there's been in the past. Part of that is Messi. Part of that is just the joy of the party that's going on in the stadiums, and you don't know where the team finishes and the supporters start, and that's captivating. But part of that is also almost jealousy. It's a way of getting at their own players. Look what Argentina were. Argentina just walked all over the side that eliminated us. Now, obviously, every game is its own story. And if you take that too far, you take that one stage further and you declare that Saudi Arabia are moral champions of the World Cup. So I don't think that's if every game is its own story. And Croatia were allowed, especially for the first half hour, they were allowed to do more against Argentina than they ever did against Brazil. But that does bring pangs of jealousy to see Argentina rolling over an opponent that they tripped on.
And so, like, on Brazilian TV and Brazil generally, is Messi a celebrated figure? Like, this guy's a genius, and we love him too. Yeah, it's universal.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he's huge all over South America. Huge. And I think there's a real... Some are anti-Argentina, and some will take the ABA approach, which is not Amateur Boxing Association. It's anyone but Argentina. But I'm feeling more... In fact, I did 4 hours of Brazilian TV today, and this is one of the things we talked about. There seems to be more sympathy for Argentina and support for Argentina than anyone can remember. And a lot of that has to do with love for Messi's last dance.
Yeah, I think the whole world is kind of on that gravy train now. Give us, we've about a minute and a half, give us your English thoughts on England.
I thought they were great. I thought it was a fabulous game. It's probably just a better game than France against Morocco, which was much, much better than I expected as well. But there's a generation coming there. Our best performances are always defeats in World Cup. Brazil 1970, West Germany in 70, West Germany in 90. I thought it was a terrific game. And
this was your best defeated performance in some time.
Yes. I thought in Portuguese there's a temporary verb for to be and there's a permanent verb for to be. And as I was watching it, I was thinking England are better in the temporary sense of the verb to be, but France are better in the permanent sense of the verb to be, meaning France can get a goal when they need it. And England, we only scored one penalty and another penalty and maybe another one we should have had.
Yes, and nothing gilt-edged. There's no... Gaza almost got there. There was nothing really beyond the penalties.
Yes. Well, first half, I love Bellingham. Just sensational tournament and a sensational game. But have we got any time to get into a preview of the final? Because I think at least...
We've 90 seconds. Sorry, yes, give us your thoughts on that, yeah.
Yeah, well, I think from an England point of view, at least we've probably lost to the champions.
I think so.
I always expected Argentina to go out in the semis because I thought they'd be playing Brazil, Spain or Germany. They haven't played anyone with the firepower that France can throw at them. They've been really impressive. The way that Scaloni has adapted to the World Cup. And there's a little tweak here and a little tweak there. What hasn't worked, and that's been really, really impressive. But you always wonder about the defensive unit, and now they're coming up against the serious firepower. So I'd love it for Argentina to win, but my favourites are France.
Okay, very good. We appreciate it because I'll be honest, Tim, if I had just done 4 hours on television, I'm not sure I'd be taking a call from Off the Ball straight after. So good man, thank you.
My pleasure, thank you.
Tim Vickery with us live on the line. Football on Off the Ball is brought to you by Sky. All the football you love in one place across Sky Sports, BT Sport and Premier Sports.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, proud partner and supporter of the Republic of Ireland women's national football team.
This is News Talk.